Today's speaker is Fatih Parlak. He is an associate professor at Cappadocia University in Turkey, and his research focuses on early modern games in both Europe and West Asia. And he wrote his PhD on the representation of the Turk in European board games. And I remember first hearing about his research maybe some 10 years ago, and I was immediately drawn to it because of my own personal interest, really, in this tension between the abstract formal systems of games and the ways that they are thematically interpreted and what that means. That games are not just abstract systems that are self-contained with no relation to the outside world, but that the way that you theme them, the way that you speak about them, the words that you use when you talk about games, which is very much what this lecture series is about, really impact how they are received and understood and integrated into the different cultural spheres. So I've always been a fan of Fatih's research in this field. And today he's going to take us somewhere else because he's going to be talking about a little explored Ottoman source on chess written in the very early 16th century. And I'm really grateful to Fatih for bringing this source to the table because by adding these primary sources and in the original languages and looking at them in the original languages, it really helps us to form a more complete picture of the history of games in the region. So thank you, Fatih, for that. I will now hand it over to you so you can share your screen and begin your lecture.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jacob, for this invitation and for making this possible for me. It's an honor to give this talk. Yeah, I'm also drawn to this research because when I had the book, it was like 5 to 6 years ago. It's transliterated into Turkish, modern day Turkish. But I found out that Murray like mentions about this book only like in 250 words, and that's it. And when I read this story, when I read the book, I realized that it's actually providing us with an unorthodox, like an unknown origin story. It's just a story. Maybe the author made it up, but still, it's in my opinion valuable because it might be also collected from oral tradition that was circulating in that geography in the Middle East in 1600s. So it's recorded this way by this author. Whether it's made up or not, of course it's made up. It's not complete. It's a legend. Still, it's in my opinion valuable to look at from a different perspective to the origin story. So let me share my screen. So strategic minds, timeless moves. I mean, this is not a usual way of method of giving this presentation. I mean, I usually give presentations based on visual materials, and then I talk freely. But this time, my presentation will be text-based. I'd like to read long passages from the book itself so that you don't miss the details. Yeah. By the way, I'm not an associate professor yet. I am still an assistant professor, but thank you very much for promoting me this way. All right, so here's the outline. I'll begin with the life and works of Firdevsî-i Rûmî. I'll introduce this interesting guy. And then I'll start talking about Şatranç-nâme-i Kebîr, great book of chess. We'll take a look at the chapters, the characters in the story, or stories, and I'll talk about the stories as well. Some of the stories, of course, standard versions, and I'm not going to go into the details of those because we already know. But the little known or unknown parts, I'll talk about them. And in the third parts, I'll talk about the gambling in Şatranç-nâme-i Kebîr. So our writer, Firdevsî-i Rûmî, he ended the book with this specific topic, gambling in gambling while playing games. So I believe it's also worth mentioning, and I'll mention that as well. I'll read the passage and then we'll continue with Q&A. So Firdevsî-i Rûmî is also known as Firdevsî Tavil. Tavil means tall. Perhaps he was a tall guy. And he was born in 1453, which is the year the Constantinople fell or conquered in our perspective. And he was born in Edincik, today's Aydıncık. Mehmet Fuat Köprülü, who was a prolific Turkish historian, he found an Arabic preface in a copy of Süleyman-nâme in an Istanbul bookstore, second-hand bookstore, followed by a lengthy section containing a significant information about Firdevsi's life and works. According to this source, his great-grandfather, Gazi Genek Bey, served under Sultan Al-Adli of the Selçuks and later joined Osman Gazi when he captured Bilecik in 1299. 1299 is important because it's regarded as the foundation of the Ottoman state, as a state. So Gazi Genek Bey was granted land in modern-day Eskişehir, where he built a mosque and a bathhouse. Gazi Genek Bey's son İlyas Bey became the Sancak Bey, which means governor of Gelibolu, Gallipoli. During Orhan Bey's reign, İlyas Bey's son Hızır Bey was appointed Sancak Bey, again governor of Sultanöyü, which is in Eskişehir, during the reign of Murat I. And then Hızır Bey's son, Bazarlı Bey, distinguished himself as a brave warrior under Yıldırım Bayezid. His son, Hacı Genek Bey, participated in the conquest of Istanbul and was rewarded for his service with the Zeamet. Zeamet means land grant of Edincik. And Firdevsî was the son of Hacı Genek Bey. I'm telling this because this is to state that he actually belonged to an aristocratic family and he had very close ties with the sultans and the palace. Although sources describe Firdevsî as being from Bursa, this is likely due to the fact that he studied there. Based on information from his various works, Firdevsî spent his life in Edincik, Bursa, Manisa, and surrounding areas, as well as a period in Istanbul. From a young age, he was interested in history, storytelling, geometry, occult sciences, and astronomy. Additionally, he became a disciple of the Naqshbandi Sheikh Abdullahi Ilahi of Simav, which led him toward Sufism. Although Firdevsî was not considered a poet by his contemporaries or later biographers, he was an extremely prolific writer. While it is said that he wrote over 40 works, both original and translated, only 16 are known by name today. Compared to his era, Firdevsî used a relatively simple language in his writings. The details surrounding Firdevsî's death are unclear and contradictory. According to sources, after presenting Süleyman-nâme, his grand opus, after presenting Süleyman-nâme to Sultan Bayezid II and failing to receive the Sultan's approval, he satirized the ruler, similar to the Persian poet Firdevsî, from whom he took his pen name, and he fled to Khorasan, which is in Iran. However, given that he wrote Şatranç-nâme in Balıkesir in 1503, and considering the information found in the 81st volume of Süleyman-nâme, along with his treatise Hayat-ı Memat, it is evident that he was still in Istanbul after 1512. Therefore, it's likely that Firdevsî later traveled to the east, where he eventually passed away. Today, we don't know where he died. During his life, he wrote 16 works. Yeah. During his life, he wrote 16 works on various topics. His most acclaimed work, Süleyman-nâme-i Kebîr, you can see on the right the first page of this work, also known as Süleyman-nâme. It's an extensive account of the life and legends of Prophet Solomon. So as an eccentric and as an occult scientist, he, of course, paid dearly attention to Prophet Solomon and his wisdom. This encyclopedic work, blending prose and verse, encompasses topics such as history, ethics, philosophy, geometry, astronomy, and medicine. Another notable work, Kutupname or Kıssa-i Cezire-i Midilli, which means the story of conquering of the island of Midilli or Lesbos today. It narrates the naval expeditions to the island of Lesbos during the Ottoman-Venetian wars between 1499 and 1503. So Davetname, which on the left and in the center you see 2 pages from Davetname, which means Davetname means the book of call or how to call. It's a lesser known work by Firdevsî-i Rûmî. This work is considered a type of talismanic book, reflecting the mystical and esoteric traditions of its time. The book includes treatises on magic, how to call jinns, and names of the angels, etc., etc. And there are many diagrams. In the center, under the 2-headed peacock, you can actually see a diagram of al-Kerkededose. It's not, of course, al-Kerkededose, but the diagram is very much like the game. Yeah. So he also wrote Cameşûyname or Çamaşırname in Turkish, in which he explains how to clean stains and dirt from various cloth. So he also had this practical works like manuals for people. Other works are about weapons and guns. A translation of Gülistan by Sadi, which is a famous Persian work. And he wrote extensively about Sufism and morality as well. So let's begin Şatranç-nâme-i Kebîr. The Great Book of Chess is a notable work by Firdevsî. He completed the work in 1503 in Balıkesir. And this manuscript was presented to Sultan Bayezid II. It is interesting. When I did research about this time in Ottoman Palace, with the help of a friend of mine, we found out there are many chess sets being played and recorded in the inventory during the Sultan Bayezid II. And some of those were great chess, like known as great chess, Turkish chess. Like, you know, it's the diagram, the board is a little bit different than today's standard chess. Right, so the work is comprehensive treatise on the game of chess, blending both prose and verse to explore its historical origins and technical aspects. The manuscript comprises 95 folios and is organized into 8 chapters, each delving into different facets of chess. So we have the authorship of chess, which discusses the original creation story. Debate between Lejlaj and Sise. We, of course, know this story from other writers. And then the gameplay between Lejlaj and Büzürçmir. Oh, he says Büzürçmir, but we also know him as Bozorgmer. And conditions and rules of playing chess. I think this is interesting. And geometric arrangements of the chessboard, which includes this typical chessboard and grain problem, the mathematical side of chess, configurations of chess setups, and there are 6 setups or opening positions. Each one of them has a story and a name, of course, a title. And they should be, in my opinion, researched in more details. They are, of course, copied from As-Suli and Al-Adli, but still there are stories within these opening positions as well. So there are in the seventh chapter, there are 77 chess games. So he likes playing these numbers, like he deliberately put 77 games or diagrams or problems, chess problems, on the seventh chapter. And in the eighth chapter, he talks about religious perspectives on playing chess, and he examines through verses and hadiths whether playing chess is permissible or forbidden according to religious scholars. So he begins talking about why he. Before going to that, there are just a little bit of text that I have to read to inform you. The treatise also includes illustrations. There are 2 illustrations depicting various chess positions. Yeah, the 77 positions and the 6 opening positions, we have the diagrams of those. And there are additionally 2 miniatures, especially on the Dilaram problem. There are 2 miniatures. Written in a relatively simple Turkish of its time, the work occasionally incorporates Arabic and Persian phrases, reflecting the linguistic characteristics of the period. Notable copies of Şatranç-nâme-i Kebîr are housed in several libraries, including the Nuruosmaniye Library, which is in Istanbul, and the Berlin Library and the Munich Library. This example on the right, is the Berlin Library, as far as I remember, and it was saved it was transferred from Cairo to Europe through Napoleon Bonaparte, and Murray based his studies on this version. So there are 3 versions, and the book that I have in Turkish comprises, the 3 versions. And if there is any missing part in one of the version, the author completes by looking at the other versions. So, although the Turkish literary scholars regard it as having not a high merit, unfortunately, the work is rich in allegories about chess and includes unorthodox stories centered around chess. It also provides an insight on gambling in Islam, which should call for revisiting contemporary research on the topic, such as Franz Rosenthal's 1975 work, Gambling in Islam. While Turkish literary scholars do not consider it to be of high merit, the work is, again, rich in allegories. So the work starts with praises to God and Prophet Muhammad. Firdevsî expresses God's supreme power, creation, and fate, using the allegory of chess to illustrate divine governance. He describes Allah as the eternal creator who brought the universe into existence, likening the earth to an emerald carpet laid upon a sapphire sea. The carpet here also represents the board, actually, especially in the 16th century. It was common for people to play chess on fabric, kind of fabric, not on a board, like a wooden board, but fabric. Right. So just as in chess, some individuals experience victory and joy while others face defeat and sorrow, all according to divine decree. Fate, personified as a relentless chess player, continuously directs the course of time, moving celestial bodies like the sun and moon. The celestial order is portrayed as a grand chessboard where the sun is a golden king and all creation moves according to divine will. Fate, depicted as a game orchestrated by God, determines victory and defeat, joy and sorrow, emphasizing that no being, human, spirit, or angel, can alter its course. The chess metaphor is used to illustrate the defeat of Islam's enemies as well. So the disbelievers are likened to a king cornered and checkmated, symbolizing their loss and the spread of Islamic law across the land. By capturing pieces like horses, castles, and elephants, which are the symbols of power, the warriors diminish the strength of their adversaries, darkening their days while ensuring the dominance of Islam. The message conveys a sense of divine justice, where faith prevails over falsehood, and history is shaped by the righteous struggle of believers. Firdevsî deliberately uses such religious metaphors to justify his position in writing a book on a trivial pastime activity. This is, of course, my perspective. So then he goes on the purpose of the book. Why? How did it occur to him that he has to write this book? So Firdevsî explains that he compiled Şatranç-nâme by gathering content from various books and translating it from Arabic and Persian into Turkish. So he states that he's an accomplished writer who has authored Süleyman-nâme, this great book, and compiled 366 books written in 1,838 sections of work, and composed nearly 1 million lines of poetry. This information you can also find in Murray. He briefly talks about this. He has also produced many other books and 44 treatises. So in 1503, he settled in Balıkesir and completed most of Süleyman-nâme with great literary skills. And he, wishing to present a distinguished and honorable book to Sultan Bayezid II, he aspired to create a treatise that would be as highly regarded as Süleyman-nâme. His goal was to add another volume to the work and offer it as a tribute to the Sultan, hoping to gain recognition, blessings, and financial prosperity through this service. Yeah, so he recalls the Sultan's generosity and the many times he had received this support. Although eager to serve, he felt unworthy of presenting a gift to the Sultan's court. As he contemplated this, he was struck by a vision of an unparalleled, radiant figure whose beauty and perfection reminded him of the prophet Joseph. But this moment inspired him to compose his literary work. It's not certain if he saw a real man or a vision of an angel in the form of a man. He describes the person as such, so he really goes into details of this guy that he saw. He says his small mouth was like a delicate rosebud, a case of pure rubies. His life-giving lips were nourishment for the souls of lovers, a companion to their longing hearts. He was a nightingale of the soul, caged in the body's prison. Upon seeing him, I declared, "This is no mere human." Surely he was more than a man, akin to an angel, perhaps a Huri or Gilman. Yet his love was slight, his torment infinite, resembling the whims of fate. So I'm not going to get into more details of this. And after this subsequent 13 couplets of the poem, Firdevsî continues his long description of the captivating beauty of the man who had appeared before him. One intriguing possibility is that the man Firdevsî encountered was, in fact, the muse who inspired him to embark on the ambitious project of writing a book on chess. Then he continues with his conversation with this muse. So this part is, this dialogue between this muse or visionary man and Firdevsî is important. He says, "At last, after seeing that beautiful, beloved, and fulfilling the service of the sacred law, I sat with him in seclusion in the retreat of solitude, finding comfort in his presence." And this visionary man, while they're sitting in seclusion, he asks, "There are signs of weariness on your face, Firdevsî. What is this? What is the reason?" And he says that he wrote this great book of Solomon. However, he says, "I lamented that I had neither a fitting gift nor a book worthy of presenting to such an enlightened figure. I admitted that I was at a loss, feeling powerless and constrained, for I considered this service my duty, yet I lacked an offering suitable for the Sultan." And then the angel starts talking. He says, "O Master Firdevsî, His Majesty the Sultan loves playing chess dearly and is well versed in its science. He greatly enjoys defeating his opponents in the game. You could compile a book for the Sultan by gathering knowledge from various works on the subject. Everyone, both great and small, enjoys a Şatranç-nâme. Moreover, in these days, you are renowned throughout the Ottoman provinces for your eloquence, skilled in both poetry and prose. You certainly possess the ability to accomplish this task." And then he gets his encouragement from this imaginary dialogue, and he starts writing Şatranç-nâme. So summary of the chapters. I should have somewhere here. Well, I don't have it, but it's not a problem. I'll give the summary of the chapters. He actually provides the summary. And in the first chapter, he explains how the original creator of chess was. He discusses the chess incident between the Prophet Idris and Cemşit, as well as references to the Prophet Solomon. The rest I've already covered, so I'm skipping those parts, and I'll continue with section 1. Before doing so, maybe we take a look at the characters in the stories. We have King Kekawat, also a kind of mysterious king, king of Iran, and then Prophet Solomon, of course, referenced quite highly. And Cemşit is the mythological king of Iran again. We have the mention of Seth or Şit in Turkish, and then Lokman the Wise, Lokman Hekim, who is regarded as having found the remedy or cure for death. And then he lost it. He wrote this down to a book or on a page, and then this page was lost. So he is this wise person who knows everything. We have the prophet Idris. This is interesting because Idris, in biblical terms, he's known as Enoch, and there is a connection between him and Hermes Trismegistus. This means that this character on number 6 is actually very much liked by occultists, and yeah. So on 7 we have Zahak or Dahak, is a ruler again in Iran, but he's a terrible ruler, a brutal one. We have the mention of Buhter Nasr, which is Nebuchadnezzar. And then comes Ardashir, Bozorkmer, Nushirvan, and Rai bin Bürehmen, which is I believe, Raj, son of Brahman. But the play that he plays, his role in the story is the king of Hindustan. We have Sise. He's the vizier who learns how to, he deciphers the game's rules. And then we have Lejlaj and Iskender, Alexander the Great, Darab as Darius the First, king of Iran, and Fursha, King Porus, king of India, and he's allied with Dara against Iskender. Okay, so chapter 1. In the first section, Firdevsî discusses the origins of chess, noting that ancient scholars disagreed on its inventor, some attributing it to Lejlaj and backgammon to Bozorgmer. He says, the ancient scholars couldn't reach a common agreement on this matter. Most people claim that it was Lejlaj who discovered chess, while they say that backgammon was invented by Bozorgmer. However, he says, the most credible account links chess to the time of Prophet Solomon, who ruled over jinn and demons and possessed unparalleled wisdom and power. In the Islamic literature, Prophet Solomon could communicate with animals, command supernatural beings, and travel the world effortlessly. With the wind at his command, as described in scriptures, he could traverse 7 lands in an instant, reaching the east and west simultaneously, exploring the 18,000 realms and wandering through the celestial constellations. His dominion extended over all creation, and he would place his throne upon the wind, soaring through the heavens with ease. Then Firdevsî continues with an unorthodox story about how the chess was invented. The story of Solomon's kingdom and the origins of chess. Right, here we are still there. The wisdom of scholars is the wisdom of scholars is sufficient. Solomon, the son of David, was a praised and trustworthy prophet, Allah's messenger, a blessed sultan, and the ruler of all creation. He wrapped the turban of the prophet Abraham, wore the robe of Seth, and sat upon the throne of prophecy. With the prophetic ring on his finger and the staff of Moses in his hand, he ruled over both humans and jinn. One day an envoy arrived from King Keykubat, presenting a chessboard made of ruby. At that time, among the pure Arabs and the nobles of the Israelites, no one knew about chess. Seeing the game pieces, Prophet Solomon was astonished and asked where they came from. The envoy explained that in Keykubat's land, a farmer plowing his field struck an iron ring embedded in a slab of marble. Engineers and craftsmen were summoned to excavate the site, uncovering a hidden chamber. By torchlight, they descended a 40-step staircase and found a vast treasure. This was the lost treasure of Cemşit. This story is like how we actually find like 28 squares and other early games in graves. So maybe these people already knew that you can find games in graves. So inside of this treasure there were 40 jars which filled with 1,000 boxes of gold, and each box weighed 1,000 miskals. Among the treasure, they discovered 32 ruby seals inside the golden chest, but no one knew their purpose. The Persian scholars couldn't decipher their meaning. They determined that only Sultan Solomon could explain their significance and sent the envoy to seek his wisdom. Upon hearing this, Solomon consulted Lokman the Wise and gathered the leaders of both humans and jinn, but none could identify the purpose of these seals. Finally, Solomon withdrew into solitude, performed 2 units of prayer, and recited the Ismi Azam, which is the greatest names of God in Islam, inscribed on his prophetic ring, summoning on an angelic deputy. He commanded the angel to bring forth the spiritual guardian of Cemşit's remains. By Allah's will, the angel appeared with the spirit responsible for Cemşit's earthly remains. Solomon questioned the angel about the ruby seals. The angel responded, "O Solomon, when Cemşit sat upon his throne of dominion, he would play this game with his noblemen. This is all I know." Solomon then asked, "How did Cemşit play with these seals? What did he do? Can you recall and teach us?" The angel replied, "O Solomon, I do not know the game myself. I was created with the ability to observe earthly matters, but I cannot explain them." This is very much like how ChatGPT answers when it cannot perform the duty. At that moment, another angel, the angel of creation, arrived. Solomon asked this angel about the 32 seals. The angel explained, "O Prophet of Allah, Cemşit lived for 800 years. For 40 years he lived in disbelief and idolatry. Then he accepted the faith of the Prophet Idris and spent 60 years following him. After 100 years, Idris was taken up to the heavens. Cemşit, however, later succumbed to Satan's whispers and fell back into disbelief. He ruled as a disbelieving king for another 600 years. When he reached 700 years of age, the Hak seized the throne, forcing Cemşit to flee to the mountains, where he lived for another 100 years before being captured and killed by the Hak. Cemşit had accepted the faith of Idris, but idol worshippers, fire worshippers, and polytheists became his enemies. While Idris wished to teach Cemşit the art of war to defeat his enemies, Cemşit was preoccupied with entertainment and had no interest in battle. One day, Idris, in deep contemplation, sought divine wisdom and invented the 64-square chessboard. He replaced the king as a role with the king piece, and the vizier as a role with the queen or vizier, warrior champions with elephants, cavalrymen with horses, and the 7 lands conquered by golden swords with the castles, rooks. Idris then taught the game to a scholar skilled in strategy, who played in Cemşit's presence. Cemşit, seeing the 32 pieces on the chessboard, was confused and asked Idris about their meaning. Idris, along with his student, sat beside the royal throne, placing the board on a carpet. As he played, Cemşit felt his warrior spirit awaken, his heart burning with the desire to defeat his enemies. He became passionate about war and rewarded Idris with the tribute of 7 lands and riches of China and his royal throne. With his newfound love for chess, Cemşit quickly gathered an army, slaughtered his enemies, and conquered lands of the world. Eventually, he checkmated the kings of the world, taking their horses, elephants, and castles. Though Cemşit adored chess, after Idris ascended to the heavens, he feared that others would learn the game. He confiscated all chessboards and ordered the execution of anyone who played. However, he secretly kept the ruby chess set for himself and played in hiding. When the Hak's reign of terror began, oppression spread across the world, and those who knew chess forgot it out of fear of their lives. All right, I think I'm becoming very slow in reading and coughing, so sorry for that, but I'm at chapter 2. And in this part, the game is, in short, found in the grave of Nebuchadnezzar, and Sise deciphers this. because the rules are lost, basically, and he deciphers how to, again, play the game, just like Idris did. Yeah, Cemşit, Cemşit did. And Sise taught Leclac how to play the game again. So the second chapter tells the story of the wisdom of Leclac and his rivalry with the skilled master Sise. According to scholars, Prophet Solomon learned the true origins of Cemşit's chess from the angel of creation. He was later taught chess by Yahya, an Israelite. And during his reign, the game became widely known. This continued until Nebuchadnezzar arrived and destroyed Jerusalem. He ravaged the lands of the pure Arabs, turning them into ruins and nests for crows and owls. He inflicted great suffering upon the believers, causing them to live in misery and forget chess entirely, as they lost both their treasures and their peace. Eventually, Ardeshir, a wise and just Persian king, invented the game of backgammon. Some say that Bozorkmer, the vizier of Nushirvan, created backgammon, but this claim is unreliable. The true and most credible account is that Ardeshir himself invented the game, which is why it was called Nerdi Burdi Erdeshir, which means backgammon of Ardeshir. When he introduced it, Persian noblemen, scholars, and intellectuals praised him, saying, "Look at our wise king who has invented this game." They encouraged people to play, and backgammon gained popularity until the reign of Nushirvan. During Nushirvan's time, there was a brilliant and eloquent vizier in India named Sise, the son of Tahir or Dahir in standard story, who was known for composing refined poetry. He was the vizier of Rai bin Burehman, a king skilled in war, foresight, and knowledge. He wielded a golden sword, conquered fortresses, and broke enemy lines on the battlefield. One day, a hidden treasure was discovered in India, believed to be the lost treasure of Nebuchadnezzar. Within the treasure, they found a silver chest containing a chessboard with a golden frame. Its four corners were adorned with jewels, and playing squares were interwoven with a blue silk thread. The 32 chess pieces were equally divided, 16 made of ruby and 16 made of yellow topaz. The king gathered all the scholars and intellectuals in his court, asking them to determine what this game was. However, none of them could identify it. Then Sise stepped forward and requested 1 month to study it. Taking the chess set to his private chamber, he delved into deep contemplation, immersing his intellect in the ocean of thought. Using his sharp mind, foresight, and accumulated knowledge, he eventually uncovered the meaning of the pieces. Then he teaches how to play the game to Leclac. And Leclac becomes, very much, he becomes a master, and then he's sent to Nushirvan to introduce this game. And yeah, so chapter 3 is a standard story, and with your permission, I would like to skip this part. Standard story of how the chess match between Leclac and the philosopher Bozorkmer. In chapter 4, etiquette and strategies of chess according to Leclac. There are 7 advices. Avoid playing while intoxicated. If you're drunk, stay away. Do not play in times of sorrow or distress. A player who is heartbroken or tearful should not engage in chess during moments of grief. Do not play while angry. Avoid playing with the ill-mannered. This resonates with Huizinga's statements about ill sports, right? Those who don't abide the rules. Spoil sports, I'm sorry. The mind must be free from distractions. And yeah, we see this free from distractions, free from, you have to have free time. The game should be played in free time, in free will. We see the similarities here as well. Play against worthy opponents to get more skill, to train yourself, and maintain focus and predict moves. The player should be sharp and attentive, thinking ahead and anticipating the opponent's moves. Here he says, before that he actually talks about this, how Leclaç, how Bozorkmer defeat Leclaç. He says that first I took him to the bathhouse and made him relax. A man whose body is weak cannot think clearly. Then I fed him sweet foods to dull his mind. For when the heart is clouded, the mind becomes sluggish and loses its sharpness. Finally, I provoked him before the game, making him angry. A person who plays in anger loses clarity and focus. This is how I defeated him. Right, so there's an interesting section about playing for silver, gambling, basically. He says playing for silver or money, dirham, is a common practice. While it is not advisable to take silver from the poor, playing without any stakes is also discouraged. So this is a very interesting statement, because it's completely going against what we know about the position of Islam against gambling. A player who wagers silver will be more cautious, playing with greater focus and earning recognition in the game. So they see gambling as a kind of tool to improve your skills, because there is the danger or anxiety of loss, right? So this statement necessitates to revisit Rosenthal's Gambling in Islam, in which he says gambling was too unpleasant a subject intellectually and materially. In chapter 5, we have the standard story of, chessboard and wheat or rice or money. I skipped those stories. And then he talks about the importance of chess for kings and rulers. It's basically, he tells about this story between Alexander and Fursha. It's also very much known. And here, basically, the motivation or the lesson is that chess is good to train your strategic skills, right? And there he also talks about Timur, and a short story about between Timur and Sultan Ahmet Celayir, who was whose throne taken by Timur beforehand, and Ahmet Celayir escaped from his own land, and he found refuge in the Ottoman Empire, and then he was killed in a war. The talk between the two. He says in the story, Ahmet Celayir actually wins a chess game against Timur. And then he talks about the ancient symbolism of chess. He says, this part is short, very sorry for taking your time so much. He says that know that playing chess sharpens the mind, enhances intelligence, and improves foresight. It allows wise individuals to grasp concepts quickly. Those who understand the deeper meanings of the heart recognize that the chessboard resembles the earth, while the pieces represent humans locked in battle. As each piece is captured, it mirrors the passing of life, where one by one people succumb to fate. The chessboard resembles the earth due to its diverse pieces, just as the world is filled with various plants and flowers that wither and disappear over time. The black squares of the board symbolize the night sky, with the pieces resembling stars scattered across it. The king, Shah, is like the moon, and when checkmated, it resembles a lunar eclipse. The red king represents the sun, while the other pieces resemble celestial particles. And when the red side is checkmated, it symbolizes a solar eclipse. The alternating victories of the black and red sides reflect the cycle of night and day. Sometimes night overcomes day, sometimes day triumphs over night. So in chapter 6, he gives information and the diagrams of this 6 opening positions with their titles. We know some of those, but there are also new additions to this as far as I remember. And we have 77 chess puzzles, including Chengi Dilaram, which you see on the right on the screen. This has many versions. We know that there are multiple versions in Alfonso El Sabio's, book of games. So this version is his version, and we need to cross-check whether he got this diagram from As-Suli or earlier chess books, or he invented it. And the last part, finally, is playing chess forbidden in Islam? He says that according to ruling of the 4 imams and the interpretations in Kitāb al-Kuduri and Muhtar, earlier books about Islamic rules, chess is considered as an activity to be discouraged, which is called mekruh. The term is called mekruh, but not necessarily forbidden. Which means haram. It's not necessarily haram. However, scholars unanimously agree that backgammon, tavla, is forbidden. The Prophet is reported to have said, "Whoever plays backgammon has dipped his hands in the blood of swine." Thus, a person who plays backgammon should wash their hands before praying or eating, fully aware that the game is forbidden. On the other hand, the permissibility of chess is debated. Imam Shafi, Abu Yusuf, and Muhammad considered chess permissible, halal, while Imam Abu Hanifa ruled that chess and all other games are forbidden, as they distract a person from worship and the remembrance of Allah. The Prophet also said, "All games are forbidden." And he ends the book with this verse that you see on the screen. The most reliable statement is this: backgammon and chess are forbidden. Yet, if viewed through the lens of wisdom, each piece carries a lesson. So his perspective is towards, wisdom, hikmet. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm very sorry for my throat. It really, but somehow we managed it, right? Thank you very much.